This week you'll be purchasing web hosting, getting a domain name, and setting up an FTP client so that you can transfer your files on your computer up to your web hosting server. And if that's something you've never done before, that can be a bit confusing and frustrating, so hopefully this can help you. First thing you need to do is to find some sort of a web host. The one that university recommends is W01 or web hosting for students. It's affordable, and if you use this, that way you can, I think, get some help through the university on setting it up as well. But there's a lot of different hosts out there. They all charge different prices, but just find what works for you, but you need to find something. So if we choose this one and we go in and hit the price, it's going to give you some things. Pick whatever you like. For our site or for our class, we're just going to have one domain name associated with it. And so this should work fine. If you want more, you can do this. But either way, pick the one you want, and then you have to decide on a domain name. Now, for the final project in this course, you can pick to do a site on the topic of your choice. It can be anything as long as it's university appropriate. So it could be a portfolio of your work. It could be a site for a future business that you want to start. It could be anything. Now, you want to make sure that your domain name is relevant or somehow associated with what you want to do. And a lot of domain names are already taken, so you got to be a little bit creative, and you might have to search a bit. But once you find one you want, you can come in here and you can check it to see if it's available, and if it is, you just go ahead and proceed, and you purchase your name and your hosting. And you should then get some sort of email from them with your different login credentials and how to connect to your server. So for example, here's an email. They give you a domain name, right? There's your domain. They'll give you what your username is going to be to connect, and they will also provide a password or allow you to set one up. And you're going to need those three things to connect. Now, once you've got that, you need to find an FTP client. So FTP is File Transfer Protocol. It's just the rules that let you send files or transfer files over the internet. So FileZilla is a very popular one because it can be used on, Mac, PC, and other things. There's also CyberDuck and several others. Once it's downloaded, you can go ahead and run the installer. And one thing that I wanted to point out is that as you're installing it, there's a few things they may try to have you add and install that you may not want. You might not want the Bing search bar or antivirus software, different things like that. So just kind of double check what it is they're trying to have you install besides that. But I've got it now, and I can go ahead and hit finish. It's going to launch FileZilla, and this is what it looks like. Now, FileZilla will show you the files up on your server, the ones that are on the internet you have access to, and it will show you the local files on your computer. And it's as simple as taking the files that you want and dragging them and dropping them. Before we can do that, we need to connect to our server. And so inside of FileZilla, we're going to go to File, Site Manager, and we're going to create a new site. Give it a name. We will then fill in the information here using whatever you received when you signed up for your hosting. So I'll go ahead and put in my URL, which is my host. And this will be whatever domain name you decided upon. We're going to use port 21. One thing you definitely need to change is the encryption type. This is what it's set up by default, but what we want to use in FileZilla is only use plain FTP. Make sure that you do that. Next thing that we'll do is put in our username, which was also provided to you. And then go ahead and hit connect, and that way it'll ask us for a password. You then put in your password. And mine is quite long to keep it secure. And you put it in, and if everything is right, then you'll see that you connected to your server. If not, one thing you can check is if you go back in so we're going for port 21. In the transfer settings, you may need to change it to passive if it's not connecting, because there might be something with your computer or your antivirus that is blocking port 21, and you try it again. But since mine is working, we'll stop there. Now, yours might just come to an empty directory on your server. I have quite a few things. If for some reason you see this one, a folder on yours that says public HTML, you'll want to go into that, because that is what is going to be viewable on a web page or on the internet. So I've got a bunch of folders. You most likely won't have anything there. So I'm going to actually just create a new folder for myself. You don't need to do this part most likely. So we'll call that com310. And when it comes to the internet, things are case sensitive, so keep that in mind. Now, I don't have anything to actually upload yet, so that's the next thing that we're going to do. In order to do this, you could use Notepad or something like it on your computer, but there are programs that are much better at doing it. One of which is Notepad++. This one's really good. I used it for years, and it's free. And then the other I've used recently quite a bit is called Brackets. Both are really good. Feel free to find something that works good for you. So in order to complete the project, we are going to go to the activity instructions, and we're basically going to take this piece of text and we're going to type that in or copy it and then paste it into a new file. And then from there, we're going to do a save as. And I have created a folder that I'm going to save all my work in, Communications 310. And inside of there, I'm going to save this as index.html. It's extremely important that you put the .html. That will turn it into a web page file rather than just text, and I'll save that. Okay. Then the next part we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and just create another new file. And I'm going to go back to that same thing, and I'm going to take that paragraph of text, and I'm going to go back into my editor. I'm going to paste that in, and I'm going to once again save it as index.html, but this time I'm going to put it inside of a folder called practice. So you go inside a practice folder and index.html. We'll save it there. So if you look into your folder that you created, you'll notice you have the index file in your main file, and then you have a practice folder with another index file that have both of those two pieces of text. Now that we have got those two made, we can go back into FileZilla and we can look for that same folder. If I can figure out where it's at, there we go. BYU Idaho, Communications 310. So I'm going to navigate myself to my Communications 310 folder. You don't need to do this part, the Communications 310 folder, but you just need to take and put your practice file, your folder, drag it and drop it in and let go. And then you'll take your index file and you'll do the same thing and let go. And now we should, if we look there, we should have these. And that didn't seem to work, so let's actually drop them on the Communications 310 folder. There we go, that worked that time. Communications 310. And they should be there on the internet. So if I go to my domain name, and in my case, I'll put in com310. You probably didn't need to do that part, but if I go there, then you'll see that I now have that page live on the internet. And so I'll then want to go and take a screenshot of that. If you're on a PC, you can type in snipping tool. If you're on a Mac, you can use another application, but we're just going to go new. We're going to get the entire thing that includes the web address as well as the contents of the page. I can then go ahead and save that. And you can name it. And then we will do the same thing. We're going to go to now the practice folder. So I'll just type in /practice. and you can see there's the other page. I'll do the same thing again and get the whole thing, including the web address. Save it and make sure you name it as well. And then you're also going to want to have both of those URLs or both of those web addresses. So then when I go to turn it in, I can come here to the FTP and hosting activity submission, hit submit assignment, come down here and choose a file, and I can grab the first one. I'll add another file, grab the second one. I'll then take the first web address, copy it, and paste it in the comments. And then I will do the same thing for the other one, copy it and paste it into the comments, and I will submit that. And that's your project. Good luck, and let me know if you have any questions.